Hey folks, this is Tolly and welcome to some more game dev. Coming back with some more Chapter 1 cleanup, Part 2. Part 1 earlier today, we took a look at getting in a kind of sparkle effect on interactables to let players know when there might be an object that looks similar to some of the other objects, but actually has a interaction option on it. I'm going to continue to play with this. I think me and Drixie could maybe try some different variations as well, but this kind of occasional just little sparkle is going to be good enough. Got a little lost in the weeds in the first stream about trying to make it so that this could be showing the interaction consistently at all times, so that if the object went from interactable to not interactable, we would turn the effect on and off in a somewhat real-time fashion. That ended up being a rabbit hole that we just couldn't, we couldn't solve that. But we got a version working now where when we knock it over, it stops sparkling and it's able to remember that it shouldn't sparkle anymore when we exit and come into the scene. And we haven't actually tested it, but I believe if we were to change our state so that we weren't in a debug state where we had picked up the mace, but instead went before mace, that should be good enough, or even post slime fight would be a better debug state to be in. At this stage we shouldn't be able to interact, and so the sparkle should also not appear in this situation. Didn't test this, but I think from some debugging we did in the last stream, yeah, the sparkle is not rendering in this situation. Perfect. So it won't show up if you can't interact, and it will go away if you have interacted with it. Good enough. It'd be nice to make it so that, like, in the same scene, if it went from uninteractable to interactable, it updated, but we're not going down that rabbit hole again. Now, for this stream, what I'm thinking about continuing with is the sound effects. I think that's the next highest priority. Yeah, unit-specific sounds, so that when we perform different abilities and we hit a slime, we hear a slime hit effect, and when we hit the bat, we hear a bat hit sound effect. Just so each of the foes, each of the enemies have their own sound effects associated with them. That should be pretty straightforward. I have a broad idea of how I want to do that. Let's start by looking at the abilities themselves. And we're going to look at a hit effect. I believe it currently has an audio effect that it plays. There should be something audio related in here. No, or am I just missing it? Audio. No, there is not an audio effect. Is it inside of... Wouldn't be in the damage effect. Because the damage effect is basically just a encapsulation of the hit and miss effects. So then if we go all the way up to slash, yeah, this doesn't have any audio associated with it either. If we go back to like some of these old prototype ones, did this one have audio in it? This is a particle effect. Yes, okay. Charge is very old, but it had a basic attack sound effect associated with it. So that means that pretty much none of our abilities currently have any audio. Is that true? That, you know, that might just be true. I haven't played with audio on a lot, so it is possible. Let's turn all the enemies in this kind of debug range. Turn all the enemies back on so that we can try attacking each of them and see if there's any differences. Let's drop this audio in the background and go to game audio. Okay. So there is a hit effect. Also, we have some new bar, like status bars that we're experimenting with. Trixie has put these together for us, which are more condensed and give a little bit more weight to the stagger meter. It was only 1 pixel, now it's like 2, I think. Yeah, we can, that's fine. I can critique or give feedback on that at a different point. So we are hearing a sound effect though when we hit this slime. So the question becomes, where is that sound effect coming from? If not a actual ability effect, is it part of the hit maybe? Like the actual notification? Damage hit notification. Does this somehow play an audio as part of like showing the number? Because if so, I don't think I want that. I think I'm going to want to break it out into its own logic. No, no audio being played here. All right. Fastest approach is going to be to go to the audio manager, and we're just going to put a breakpoint in play sound effect here. And we're going to find out where this is getting called from. Where's this one called? Oh, this is the internal function for it. Okay, so yeah, this is the right breakpoint then. I'm going to leave audio muted for the game just for now. We'll probably switch over to more game audio as we actually get the system set up and we start testing some of the audio effects. So this is playing audio effects for the character walking, essentially. Each time we take a step, there is a small step sound that we use. Okay, so I'm going to guess this is the hit. It is coming from the hit. It's just its own screen component. Yeah, I don't like this. So when it refreshes the screen component that shows the number for how much damage we've done to the enemy, it also plays a sound effect. Let's just bypass this for now so that these aren't played. And we're going to make sure it's not doing any other sound effects. Oh. It's also hitting a basic attack. Ah, this is from the enemy being alerted. So when we first hit the enemy, its alert is using a basic attack sound effect when it does the little alert icon. Okay. That's fine. We can leave that alone. We can re-examine what effect or which sound we're using for that in the future, but I just want to get rid of the attack sounds. So let's turn off the background audio and go back to the game audio. And now we shouldn't hear anything when we hit the enemy. Well, we'll hear the notification for the initial alert, but then otherwise we shouldn't see any other, or we shouldn't hear any other sound effects. In fact, we can also get rid of this breakpoint entirely now. And let's walk up here. We don't care about this anymore. We can get rid of that breakpoint. Yeah, so there's a sound effect for the alert, but now there's no longer any sounds for attacking the enemy. Now, I did hear a sound for the enemy attacking us. Interesting. I wonder if it still has a sound effect associated with its AI attack. I am not seeing one. Okay, let's have the enemy attack us again and put the breakpoint back inside of the audio manager and see if we can figure out where that attack sound effect is coming from the AI. So we're gonna put a breakpoint back inside of here and then skip a few turns. This does look like it's coming from the AI's attack animation. I didn't see it though. Oh, it's right at the very top. Outside of all the AI hits, it's specific to this attack. Okay. That's fine. We're going to disable that. And we're going to move all of this logic to be part of the hit animations. Or the hit effects. So inside of the base level of a hit effect, this is once we've hit a enemy. It's weird that we're showing name ability effect. I don't think we're actually doing that anymore. Oh, I see. It's because custom name is empty. Is that why? Oh no, it should still be allocating. Weird. I'm gonna double check if we go to slash. Oh, it's disabled as part of slash, but it's not disabled in the base prefab. Yeah, okay. It's just not... Okay, that's fine, whatever. Could probably clean some of this up a little bit more. Not worrying about it. Okay, so... What do I want to do? I want to have it so that when we hit the enemy, specifically the moment that we impact them, so that's going to be after we call melee attack, wait for pause, set animation speed to 0. This is pausing for a frame. Yeah, and then at the very end, we set animation speed back to 1. Okay, so I think right here is when we would want to have an impact sound. So if we go steal from AI attack, this game object, and we put that inside of the hit effect, and we add that right here, we can call this hit audio effect. Now, here's the piece of the puzzle that we are missing. Previously, I would just say, play a sound effect, and it would just play that. And we would just give it a sound effect, and we could add a bit of a custom delay on that if we wanted to. The issue is, if the player is hitting an enemy, that enemy might have different sound effects. Or we might want different sound effects for different enemies. So we can't just bake in a single sound effect in the hit or even in the slash. It will need to actually check the enemy and see what sound effect it should play for the enemy that it's hitting. We do this type of stuff in places like here, Flash Sprite. We have an ability to check whether it's the attacker or defender. But we had a even better system that we wrote a little while ago that I really should convert all of the old ability effects to. But we wrote some sort of base one. Flexible unit targeting ability effect. Where is this used? This is used as part of a couple of very specific ability effects. So we're going to grab something like the set visibility, which is one of the more straightforward ones. I'm going to take a quick look around. Actually, I think I like set walk duration as a really straightforward one. So we're going to use this as a base, and we're going to copy this. We're going to have to stop debugging. And we're going to need to put this somewhere. Where's our audio currently? It's under user feedback effects. So we'll put it in here. We're going to copy this over, and we're going to rename this play unit, play audio, play sound effect, play sound effect, unit specific. It's a bit wordy, but it'll work. No, do not rename. Okay, so we're going to play this, and we're going to get the unit, and we're going to need to access a component on that unit, which we're going to need to create. So let's go take a look over there. We're going to leave this for the time being. We'll just empty it out. And we're going to go look at a prefab. And in fact, let's just go to the base enemy, because every single one of them should have this new component we're going to create. Let's look at the unit. We're going to make a new component here, which is going to be audio I want to have more than just audio as a descriptor for this, but I feel like it's not really an audio manager. I mean, it kind of is. I can't just name this audio, can I? All these other ones are very straightforward. It's specifically a class for the units and managing the unit's specific sound effects. And it's really just going to be a data controller. We're going to create a series of enums, and we're going to reference those enums in a list probably, and then associate a string ID for a sound effect with each of those enums. Let's just call it sound effects. I can always rename it later. So then this will be, like I said, containing a list of sound effect datas. And that's going to contain a enum, which will be sound effect types. It's too generic. Like, sound effect is just like, it should be like sound effect enemies or sound effect units. I don't know. It's just, it feels like there's a modifier specific thing that I'm missing here. Okay, none. Oh, Trixie with the hydrate. Appreciate that. The naming will come to me though. Let's just create it, and then we can always do a rename before we check in and finalize. So we're going to go none. We're going to go hit, attack, hit, attack, death. Let's start with those three, because I don't know if we have much more than that for a lot of the enemies. Okay, so we're going to have a list of these sound effect IDs. And that really should be all we need to get started. And then in the base enemy, we can add this sound effects component. What are you mad about? What did I miss? Oh, when debugging, we accidentally hit a button and then saved it. It's doing a thing as it compiles our new script. Okay. So that is not showing anything. Is that because we need to make this serializable? Why are you not showing any data? There we go. Okay, so then we can do like 3 of these entries. We can have the hit, we can have the attack, and we can have the death. And we'll leave that empty in the base version. Actually, what's probably safer is to just copy this and leave it empty in the base version so it doesn't find any. And then the mini slime is the first enemy we run into, so we'll add data for it. The sound effect ID. So we're going to need to go to our audio manager and find the sound effects we want. Save. We have a way of auto-generating. Yeah, this is a good example. So we can add a bunch of different sound effects to our audio manager just by a folder path. Shadow Addict asking, so is that coding? I'm not sure what specifically you were referring to. That was from a minute or two ago. I'm sorry, I did not see the question sooner. Okay, so let's do slime sound effects. So we're going to make a new game object, and then let's look for the river folder that I was using originally. That's in this environmental ambience. So then if we go into characters, monsters, and then look at slime, we want to do this folder path. So sound effects is part of it, so it's going to be Can I lock this so that it keeps the name? It will not keep this information here. Can I do copy path? I can. So then from that, I can put that piece in here and then erase everything before the word, before sound effects, because that seems to be the root for this. And then if we do populate, oh, I copied the wrong path. Populate. Okay, so now we have slime damage, death, idle, jump, and land. So if we grab these ones, we need to now add these sound effects to the actual enemy. What's going to be the easiest way to copy this information? Are you making a game then? Is this how you make a game? It is one way. I am building a video game. I've been doing it for a number of years now. Specifically this evening, we are trying to get it so that audio effects will be specific to certain enemies. So when we walk up and hit this slime, we'll actually hear a sound effect for the slime being hit that will hopefully be specific to the slime. So it's a impact sound, ideally something like that, opposed to the more generic impact. Just got to figure out how we're going to pass that information over. Let's go here, open this up, and then I'm going to scroll back up, and I think maybe copy and pasting the names of the audio might be the fastest way to get these IDs in here. So we're going to grab the slime damage. We're going to put that in here for hit. We're going to lock this. We'll put death in here, which sounds like what? Sure, that'll work. And then we need an attack sound, which I don't have one in here from the pack I purchased. I think jump will probably work for our purposes. Let's try that. So we'll add jump in as an attack sound. Cool. So now the actual slime has sound effect IDs associated with hit, attack, and death. Now we need to make it so that the ability will actually call those sound effect IDs depending on the enemy that we're attacking. I'm wondering, is this kind of how game devs make games then? Yeah. I mean, this is how I've made games in the past. When I work professionally in the game industry, this is just a side project thing, a hobby for me, but it is something I thoroughly enjoy and I'm having a lot of fun making. But yeah, no, this is part of the process. I'll say that I'm doing it a little bit more data oriented, so a lot more like, setting up data and less hard coding. But all of those terms may not make a lot of sense if you're not super familiar with the process of game development in general. Hit effect. Okay, so we have this audio effect that's playing basic attack. So instead of this, we're going to want to do our new play sound effect unit specific ability effect. And we're going to play the sound effect on our target. And we're going to want to give it we're going to want to have a parameter for which specific effect we want to play. So we're going to say public, and we're going to do, what did we call it? Sound effect, unit sound effect types. And we'll make a public variable for that. Just name it exactly the same. And then I don't actually think we need a prediction on this because we won't predict the audio effect. Prediction stuff is used for showing information to the player or even determining whether or not an ability can be performed. But in this situation, we're not really going to need to predict the sound effects. So we'll just need to construct a sequence step. How was play working? If we look at audio effect, this was creating a play sound effect audio sequence step. So we'll do the same thing. We'll still create one, but the difference is the ID that we're going to give is going to be based off of the target unit. I need that. I need this call. So we need to know what are we targeting, grab that unit, and then we will get the component on that object for the sound effects. And then from that game object, we'll store it locally as a variable. And we should be able to access the sound effect datas. I don't really want to grab the information directly, so instead I will make a function in here that will return a string for a specific sound effect ID, and we will do get sound effect ID, and it will take in a sound effect type. And then inside of this function, it will go through each of the sound effect datas in the list that we created on this unit. And it will then check if the sound effect data's type equals the type that you're asking for. And if it does, it will return the sound effect data's associated ID. If we find nothing, we'll return null. In which case, we don't even need to store this locally then. We can just do get sound effect ID, passing in the type of sound effect from this enemy or anything, a unit that we want to play. And then we want to just pass this directly into our audio effect. Do we need a delay? I don't think so, but I at some point in the past I thought I did, so I'm going to keep it here. And clean this up a little bit, and that should just work. So when we call this ability effect, it will try and find Oh, this is not accounting for if we return null. I'm going to guess this doesn't account for it either. It does not. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate. Oh, I didn't get any audio effect on that. There should have been an audio notification as well. Might need to dig into that later. We want to do some safety checking because it's also possible that maybe a unit doesn't have its information set up. So we're going to just do a string storage and we'll save the sound effect ID here. And then we'll just do a if string dot, if a string is not null or empty, then play this sound effect. Good enough. So given a specific unit, either the attacker or the defender, or the target, I will grab that unit, get the associated sound effect type, get that ID. As long as it's not null or empty string, then it'll play that sound effect. Seems good to me. So inside of the player's hit effect, instead of doing this audio version, we will instead do target hit with 0 delay. Now, if we walk up to the mini slime, we should be able to hit it, and it should play the slime sound effect. Unlockable characters with the hydration, appreciate it. Okay. Cool. That's working. Now, Slash specifically might want its own audio effect. When would I want to play that? Yeah, I think I might want a specific audio effect here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a discard changes for now. We're going to make a new effect here before we play the animation. And this can be attack audio effect. And by default, this will be the attacker playing its attack sound effect. Yes. I think that's what that's what I want for the AI. The AI specifically definitely want that setup because they're going to want to have also a hit effect that will play after the animation has actually impacted, which will be here in our list of sequence steps or ability effects that creates, it doesn't matter. Point is it'll be there. And then it will want the audio hit effect here before the animation. And this will be attacker play attack, a target hit. That seems good. The trick is, I think, for Slash, and this might be true for the AI as well, I don't think it's a specific... I think we might want different audio effects for different abilities. So the attack audio effect for at least the player version maybe should just be a traditional audio ability effect with a blank ID by default. And then for slash, we would just put in whatever sound effect we want for slash. Let's go back to the audio manager and let's go find one for the slash effect. We have battle magic. That has a couple things in it. We have crit sound effects. Let's make a new copy of this object and let's go look for some sort of slash sound effect. So we have ambiences. We want something combat related. Battle sound effects. Claw, bite, impact, slash. These are all very retro sounding sound effects, which is fine, but I don't know if it really fits what we're currently doing. Do we have any? We have some other weapons. These feel more in line to me. So let's copy this path. I may narrow this down to a subset of these at some point. But let's start by just hooking all of them up. And then we'll name this sword attacks. And which one do we want to start with? Let's just do this basic slash one, slash attack sound. So we'll go to abilities, we'll go to slash, and then save the changes to the audio manager. Inside of the attack audio effect, we'll just do this sword slash. I'm going to add a very small delay on this of like 0.1, just so that the sound doesn't play the moment we play the animation. Well, actually, let's just see how it sounds if there's no delay. Okay, so now when we attack, we should hear that slash sound effect. We are not hearing that sound effect. Interesting. And it's also failing because it's not finding the sound effect on the unit. So we need to be a little bit more cautious in the setup here. I was trying to save some local variables so that we were not creating as much garbage collection. But we will need to do a check like that for now. Otherwise, we'll need to guarantee every single unit has a sound effect on it, which shouldn't be too bad, honestly. I can't think of many situations where we wouldn't want to have that on every single unit in the game. Okay. I'm not hearing the slash. Let's take a look at the ability while the game is running. So this is the slash ability, which is on the player. Under its effects, damage effect, hit effect, it should have an attack audio effect for slash attack 1. So then if we go look at the audio manager, under sound effects slash attacks, that should be this one here. Okay, let's attack again, but let's see pause the game here. Oh, it is playing, but so is the slime damage. So it's possible that I'm just not picking up on the sound of the sword because it's overlapping with the hit sound effect. And so they're not distinct enough. Yeah, they might just be overlapping. Can we go to our global scene? And let's go into our debug manager and change it so audio effects are not disabled so that we can get some console outputs of what's actually happening. Because that'll help a little bit if we can see a readout of which sound effects it's currently playing. It's clear. I am not seeing any debugs for the audio. Audio manager. It's currently disabled. Yeah, there's a bunch of old debugs here. Let's see if we can track down debug log manager. 38 references. Oh, it was right there. I just didn't see it. So we have a message for when the sound effect is null. We would like to just go back to having a message as well for when we're playing a sound effect, because this will be less spammy now that we can control which debug logs we see. So this does not need to be commented out. It can just always be on. And I would like to do the same thing for ambience, which will be here. Playing ambient. And then same thing for music. Let's put that after the check to see if we're already playing that music. So a couple of debugs for audio. That'll help us a bit in understanding what's happening. Now, if we can get the slash playing, well, okay, let's one step at a time. It's possible the slash is playing, and if it is, then we need to find a way to space them out a little bit. Our attack animation is pretty quick, so we might struggle a little bit to try and get some spacing between them. Okay, we do see that it did play this one, and then a few frames later it played the slime damage. So they are playing, I think, fast enough, or like close enough together that we can't really distinctly hear the sword attack sound. What if we just delay the impact by a little bit, like, I don't know, 0.1 of a second, so the hit happens a little bit after. That might sound weird / look weird, but I'm just gonna try some stuff. Okay. Better, but it's still a bit messy in terms of sounds. Let's also get rid of the alert sound effect, because the alert sound effect is making it also difficult to kind of distinguish on the first hit at the very least. hard to track the exact spot that's coming from. It's going to be inside of the AI alert, I think, though. Yeah, this is where it's coming from. So we're just going to disable that effect for now so that we don't get that sound. We'll figure out how to make the alert separate and feel distinct. But right now it's just playing too close to the actual attack. Okay, I think my problem is actually that the sound is starting too late. How do I catch this? Oh, you know what it might be? It might be a bit of delay in the actual sound effect itself. Which one are we using again? Slash attack 1. Yeah. So I'm not actually hearing that impact or the actual like main bit of the sound until like at 0.8 or so. Like this is where the time tracker will show up. Yeah, I'm not hearing that until about here, even though the visualizer is showing that this is where some of the sound is. I don't actually hear it until here. So I think part of the problem is that the sound effect itself has a bit of delay in it. Oh, interesting. I think this might be a tech issue from like specifically with my setup. I'm going to try something, chat. I'll be right back in a moment, but I'm going to try switching my headset to see if that impacts this. Because I think my headset might be causing the delay. Because again, it looks like it should be playing here, but I'm not hearing the actual sound effect until the line is about here. But I think that might just be a hardware issue. Let me try something. I'll be right back. Okay. I've switched to a different headset. Unlockable characters, it's good to know that you're also hearing it after the squiggle effect. That being said, after switching my headset, now I'm hearing it at the right spot. Oh shoot, I'm not actually showing. That looks like it's lining up now. Almost perfectly. So I think it's interesting that that headset has a delay in it. Okay. At least from my perspective, that's looking better. So then the question becomes, that's also interesting that like because of the audio device I was using, it was probably also affecting the stream. That looks and sounds way better. Oh, can I not? Oh, it's an invisible. Oh, this is because of some stuff I did with fading. That's fine. The enemy's there, I can still hit it. I don't care about what it looks like right now. I just care about the sounds. And this is only a problem because I'm respawning the enemy, which we never do in the real game. This is only a problem in this debug space. Yeah, now I'm hearing a distinct swoosh of the attack and then hearing the impact when the enemy actually impact, or when the player actually impacts. Now that being said, is there too much of a delay on the hit sound? Because I did add that 0.1 delay to kind of separate them a little bit more. No, that's fine. The 0.1 is I think helping and doesn't sound like too far off from the actual impact. Cool. Sorry, that was loud. Volume control. No, I'm excited. So then what's the next step? Let's go to the player. Let's add a sound effects component to the player, and we're going to add a hit sound to the player. Player. Audio manager. We're going to need to create a new sound effect. So we have slash effects. What's another... Where could we find another audio effect? Characters? Humanoids? Generic human? These are all stepping and jumping sounds. Fighter? General? I guess we're looking for an impact sound.
Huh?
No. A generic impact sound. A little too... A little too pixely. I don't think I want it to sound like armor. Druid, maybe? Doesn't sound impactful enough. Bard? Again, we get a little bit too much of a metally sound. Those are yells. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to find... Okay, maybe instead of humanoid, if we just went down to combat hits. I think that's what we're looking for. Let's do wood on leather. Yeah, that seems generically like just an impact. So then if we go back down here and go to the player, we can add this as a hit effect. So now we should hear the slime's attack. I don't mind that. And we are playing both. Let's validate that. Yeah, slime jump into wood on leather. I think that's working out pretty well. Okay. Next is death sound. So let's go back to the audio manager. I'm going to double check, but I think we have the sound effect for the slime. Oh, we should rename this to hits. Slime sound effect, death. If we steal that. Actually, did we already set this up? Enemy. Mini slime. We did. Okay, so this does have a death sound. The trick will be, where does this get played? Because this won't be part of an ability. This won't be the ability, you know, swinging, impacting, all that stuff. It'll be part of the knocked out status effect. So this is a status effect that's applied to the enemies that then triggers the death animation on them. So we kind of build this in code rather than in a prefab. We're going to probably just line up the sound effect to just be at the moment when we would play the animation. Now, that being said, this is not ability effects. This is just a play sound effect sequence step. So we're going to need to recreate the logic we're doing inside of the play sound effect unit specific. We're going to want to get the sound effect and then do this logic. Okay, so in here, we're going to get component in parent. Looks to be the way we do that here. Get the sound effects. If it's not null, try to get the death. Sound effect types death. Get that sound effect ID. And then all of this needs to happen here. And instead of what we were doing before, we're just going to do this. No delay by default. So it's going to add the delay, set the animation speed to 1 so that it actually plays. If it has a sound effect, it'll check if we can find a sound effect ID for death. If we find a sound effect ID for death, then we will add that as something we want to play here, and then we'll play the death animation. There's maybe a world where we want a slight delay in here, but it might be unique per enemy. It's possible we really should make the death it's a like ability prefab that the knocked out status effect loads, but it's fine. I just want to see it working. Okay, hit. I heard it. It was somewhat faint. Funnily enough, it comes in a little bit after the music switches back. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because we added a bit of a delay into the knocked out sound effect. Let's try again with just 0 and see how that sounds. Because I think the audio effect itself had a little bit of a kind of slow start, so we may not need much delay. I just didn't want it overlapping with the like hit sounds. This is the tricky thing about like tuning audio is you kind of just gotta play it. You know what? I like that. I think that works fine. So then, what are we missing? So we have it so when we slash, we have a specific sound effect for it. When we impact the enemy, it plays that enemy's impact sound. When the enemy gets knocked out, it plays its unit-specific death sound. When the enemy attacks, it uses its specific attack sound. Now, this does mean that we do not have different sound effects for different attacks. So like this one only really has one, but like the boar has like a charge and the slime has a different one. Like it's possible we might want to build a different like attack sound for every single one of these instead of just checking the unit's attack sound. Similar to how I said slash for the player would be unique. But I'm going to leave it for now so that the defaults are, if like every enemy attack is just going to use the same one. And then if we find that that gets repetitive or confusing, we can always add more data essentially. I want to copy the mini slimes information. So if we come into here, copy, then come into the big slime, paste. So now it has the exact same sound effects for the mini slime and the big slime. Maybe they should be changed in some way, like pitch shifted, or, you know, I think I did see a different set of audio effects for like a mother slime. I guess we could take a quick look. There's slime and then, yeah, mother slime. It's a bit extreme. I think I'm fine with them just sharing the same ones for now. Let's go back to the audio manager and let's add some sound effects for the boar and the bat. So the boar had its audio under animals, wild boar. So we do copy path, paste that in here, populate, and then rename this to wild boar sound effects. And then same thing for the bat. We will do bat sound effects. And this will be this folder. Copy file path, bat, populate. Whoa. The bat has a lot more sound effects. Okay, cool. Let's go to the bat. Can I make a new project view? If we do add tab project, one column, and then lock this one here, can I then go down to the enemies, go to the bat, scroll down to here, add 3 of these, one for hit, one for attack, and one for death. Now for attack, It moved. It moved it. Scroll down. Let's lock this one. And then I'm going to add another inspector because I think it needs one to exist in order for me to hear the sounds. I like this one, so we'll do that for the attack sound. And then we need a hit. I like this for the hit. If we wanted to get fancy, we could go into the audio manager and make it so that the back cry short could be one audio effect and have it so it randomizes between these A and B ones. But we don't have that many audio effects for the other enemies, so I'm just going to keep it consistent. And then death. Which is a bit gruesome sounding, to be honest with you, but fine. It'll work. Then for wild boar, we'll go enemies. Boar. Save. And then add 3 here. Hit. Attack. Death. And then we have the death. Easy. We have damage, which I think is going to be hit. And I'm going to try using this idle as the attack sound. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll give it a shot. It's really all we have, because the other option is the walk loop, which is like 3 seconds long, opposed to this one, which is 2. And 2 is maybe already a little bit too much, but 3 is just going to be worse. So that'll be those hooked up. Now I guess we need to do ogre as well. Currently the ogre can't die, but it can be hit and it does attack. So we kind of do need some audio for that cutscene. It only really happens once early in the game, but still need it. All right, come into here. We'll do ogre sound effects. Do we have ogre sound effects is the question. Not under animal. Monsters. Orc.
Attack.
That's not what we're looking for. Ogre feels like technically this character is more like our demon fighter character. So like this one might be too monstery is the issue. No, that's not what we're looking for. No, this is too... weirdly too demon-y, I think. Because it's a humanoid, I guess we could go with one of the standard ones. Like, maybe we just use hit wood on leather again for the ogre. Well, no, sorry, that would be the hit effect on the player. We still need an attack sound. Oh, no, I'm right. We need a hit and an attack. So if we go enemies, ogre, we can make this the hit sound. So it sounds like hitting the player, essentially. But then the attack sound, we still need something. The enemy kicks the player and then smashes. What would that be? No. Still no. I think heavy might be our best bet here. Yeah, let's do heavy 3. So we'll just have it so the ogre uses heavy 3, which we already have added in here as well because it's part of the slash attacks. And technically the ogre is like punching and kicking, but I think this will... Yeah, it's like... I don't know how to describe the audio, but it sounds like it should be fine. So then we don't need this ogre one because that's now just a copy of bats. We can save this. And the ogre should be fightable as well, which I'm not going to test right now, but it is hooked up. Let's, however, test all the other enemies. I mean, I guess I could just go do that Omni-Weapon cutscene. It won't take long, but we'll start here. So we'll double check to make sure this one still sounds okay. If we're going to fight this, we need to be way stronger because all these enemies are way too difficult if we're just starting with a basic save. We're going to just disable the audio for a second because the sound effect in here, I think, also needs to be reworked for the selection. And this is just it's too much. So we're going to just disable the audio so we don't have to hear all the chirping. We're also going to come into Mace. We're going to upgrade a bunch of stats in here as well. Just make ourselves strong enough that we should be able to defeat this slime without too much difficulty. And I could upgrade Defend as well, but I don't think it'll be necessary. Our health is still low, though, which is kind of funny. We do need to update Bash to have a sound associated with it. We can close this extra one now. Same with this one. So if we go into Bash, maybe this could use the same heavy hit. Yeah, this needs an audio sound effect, so we'll come up here. We'll grab heavy hit 3, and we'll add that to the Bash sound. And then I need to make sure I don't use shoot or defend because they're not going to work correctly. Oh, and I just lost all the upgrading. Do we have a debug set up right now where we are super high level? Like this one doesn't have any nodes unlocked. This one has 3 nodes unlocked. Yeah, I kind of need a debug test where we're really high statted. That's going to take a second to set up because we need to basically look at all the skill tree and figure out all the nodes and tell it exactly which ones we want to update. Yeah, there's not an easy way right now for me to be able to say, hey, I want to upgrade this entire skill tree or unlock every node in this skill tree. Like, maybe not even a debug like settings asset like over here. Maybe it's just I need a debug in this menu that I could just go in and hit unlock all. Let's try this again. Okay, so that sounds fine to me. Unlockable characters with the hydration. I feel like I may have missed the last one. Oh no, that is the last one. Okay, my bad. Okay, that boar sounds fine. Oh, I had not tested this behavior. I've mostly been playing quote unquote correctly, where if the boar is charging, I just like defend. That's when they do the blue crystal, that's what's happening, is they're going to do a charge. But if I run away, it kind of breaks. That's a bug I need to fix before we finish up this build. Okay, so he runs. So yeah, if I do defend here... Some of the sound effects for the boar sound too quiet compared to some of the other ones, so we might need to tweak their volume a little bit. But otherwise fine. Let's try the bat. Oh, why'd I hit stop? If we had to just let ourselves die and then like restart the level, because it would have reloaded us directly in, it would have saved us some time here, but... Okay. Let's see how the bat's sounding. Oh, I really like the attack from the bat. Okay. No, I don't mind that. I mean, I think the kind of hit sound for the bat is a little too sharp, almost, is the way I'll describe it. Like a little too pitchy, and gets a little annoying if you're hitting the bat repeatedly, as you do. But I don't have a great way of fixing that right now, so we will figure that out later. I think that's it. There's some tuning to be done, like I said, like maybe tweaking some of the sound effects a little bit, maybe changing the volume of the boar. I can do that real quick, but otherwise I think this system is functional. We have a way of assigning specific sound effects to the enemy and having it so that the sound effect that is performed is based off of the enemy you're hitting or the enemy dying. Yeah, all sound effects by default are at half volume. That's so that I can go up, because by default Unity's audio doesn't go above 1. So if they were all defaulted to 1, I wouldn't have any range to go to increase the sound. So we'll do 55 for all of these, because they sounded a bit quiet compared to the other enemies. And maybe I just make the bat hit sound a little bit quieter. That's something I can do real quick as well. Just bring that one down. Specifically, short A and B. I think we're only using one of those, but I don't remember which, so we'll just turn them both down. Interesting. Still a little quiet from the boar. Let's go up by a lot and see if we can notice a difference. Oh, I didn't increase the damage, so that might be part of it. But still, we're going to go up to like 0.7 on each of these. We're going to go more extreme. I don't think... Hopefully we don't have to go all the way up to 1. That's better. Now, the damage or the attack sound is so delayed that it doesn't play until after the hit, which is less than ideal. I don't really have a good solution for that, though, because this is kind of what we have. Yeah, I'd have to, like, chop this audio up a bit, I think, in order to get it to be playing sooner. Nope, that's not what we're looking for. Yeah, I think it might just be modifying these a little bit. Chopping them up might be our best bet. Yeah, I don't think we can use any of these other ones. I don't think that's the sound that we're going to be able to use for the boar attacking. I don't... that might work. Like, if I didn't tell you that was a tiger sound effect... maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, I think our best bet is going to be getting out some sort of audio software and chopping these up a little bit, or at least trying to. And see if we can get, like, a specific section of this that can be played more immediately. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be able to repurpose any of these other ones. Let's say that's good. What else do we have? What else we got? Sound effects for abilities and sound effects for unit-specific sounds. I'm happy with that. The last kind of major thing here is the animation syncing. I mean, there's a lot of other small bugs and issues that I need to kind of clean up, but for on camera, okay, click off of that. I think the syncing of these two water animations is going to be the next question. I don't know if we'll solve this in the next half an hour, but I feel like I can at least start digging into it. Not sure when that comment came in on the YouTube side, but Steve the Majestic Dragon says, watched your Minecraft series 15 years ago. How you doing? I'm doing all right. Working on building a video game with my wife Trixie. And you think I actually got you into XCOM as well. That's likely. I did a lot of XCOM with Chester back in the day. So I think we happen to just line it up so that these two are in sync right now. Not guaranteed to happen. Well, close to in sync. I think they are still a little bit off. Let's try and get it more broken so that we can get a better showing of the issue. Yeah, it's a little bit more out of sync. If we slow things down, it should also be more clear. Yeah, so in this example, again, it's not completely out of sync. It's like one frame off. So how do these work? If we look at the sprite renderer and we double click on its animator, it's running through its animation here. Let's open this up in another window. We can see that this is scrolling through. If we select this one, yeah, we can see this one's a little behind this one. So the animators are independent of each other. They don't really have any way of knowing the progress of another animation, which makes sense. But in this type of spot where we basically want two different like sprite renderers, as well as these two kind of splash effects, we want all of these to be in sync so that they're all animating at the exact same time. Now, the reason they get out of sync, I think, this is tile 5-6. I think the reason that they're getting out of sync is because the animator isn't running if the tile is not revealed. And so the moment that the tile gets revealed is the moment it starts animating. Therefore, if you reveal them at slightly different times, everything breaks. Okay, so I guess there's a couple of ways to fix this. Some of them are pretty hacky. Let's talk about hacky solution number 1. I'm just going to validate this is working though, or this is doing what I think. So yeah, so if I select this sprite renderer, we can see that it is not animating at all. But if we actually walk up, as soon as we reveal it, it starts animating. And if we go to 5.7 and look at its waterfall, click on the sprite renderer, yeah, we can see it automatically updated the animator view when we selected this new one. This one isn't animating, and this one is. So the problem is because the game objects are turned off, the animators aren't running, and so the moment that I reveal the next tile, that's when it decides to start running the animation, but it's not in sync. So option number 1 is to have tiles paired so that when you reveal that tile, it reveals its paired tile simultaneously. So it's impossible to reveal the two tiles separately. That when you show one, you must show the other. That's super hacky, and it kind of breaks kind of fundamentally what we're doing here. Steve the Majestic Dragon, thanks for the follow over on Twitch. Welcome. Yeah, I don't love the idea of having the tiles have to be revealed simultaneously. Ideally, you should be able to reveal them one at a time and still have the animation sync up. We ran into a similar problem with NPCs recently, where we had NPCs being disabled when you first load in. This enemy is on 1310. How do we solve it for the enemies? Do we just not have them under the disabled object? 1310. We do not. So technically this slime is not disabled. It is rendering right now, but I think what I'm doing is I'm just disabling the sprite renderer so you can't see it. Yeah, the sprite renderer is turned off. But you can see, even with the sprite renderer turned off, it's still animating. And if I was to toggle this on, you can see it is there. And it would have started animating on frame 1 because it exists at the same time. I mean, these are loaded, so technically there could be some load time delays, but I can't imagine that that'll... Well, yeah, I guess depending on when the object is loaded, there might be a discrepancy as well. Let's tackle that when we get to that. I guess my first question is it possible to have the waterfall work similar to the slime, such that it starts enabled, but with its sprite renderer turned off until the moment you reveal the tile? I mean, the problem is it's not just the waterfall, it's all tiles have this issue. So we need to modify every single prop so that it is not rendered under the game object. Yeah, see, that's a possible solution. We could treat it like how we do NPCs and enemies, so that they are not parented to the tile, but instead are just like rendered outside of it. How does the slime work with the moving of the tile? Oh, this thing is still what controls the position of the tile, and because this is parented under that floor holder, it will still move with it. Okay, so that isn't a factor. It is literally just making it so that it doesn't render, or more accurately, its sprite renderer is turned off until the moment that tile is revealed. Well, maybe we don't have to do this for every prop. Maybe we could just do this for animating props. Because we know that this object has an animation component to it, I believe. So if we go to this, zoom in here, go to here. Yeah, this has an animation component. So we could check, does this have an animation component? If so, parent it instead to the holder instead of the actual like turned off object, and then disable its sprite renderer until the moment it's revealed. When do we reveal the enemy? Like, how does that work? Tile.cs. Somewhere in here. Tile animation. Right, this handles all the revealing logic. Unit visibility. Set move reveal. Yeah, there's some really complicated stuff. Maybe unnecessary, but I'm tired of fixing this and it's currently working. Perfect. See? Complicated. So some of the visibility logic for the unit was already complicated. We'd need to do the same idea here. So in the same way we're doing tile.getUnit, we need to do like tile get animating props and then set that animating props visibility. It's just a pain. Okay, so that's another solution. Solution one is reveal the tiles together, which is going to require a bunch of data logic. We're going to have to store, references to different tiles. Option two is we make it so that the props that are animating aren't parented under the object that's turned off, but but instead their sprite renderers are disabled until the moment that the tile is revealed, so that the animator can be running continuously from the moment that it is revealed or loaded, and ideally the animating props would then always be in sync. Option 3, which is also not great, is we could make it so that the tiles have references to their, similar to option 1 basically. We could have it so that it has a reference to its like paired tile that it needs to have its animation in sync with, and it could do something where if this tile is revealed, it knows it's being revealed and then checks its pair, and if the pair is already revealed, it sets its animation time to be in sync with it. But that kind of also requires the animations to have the exact same timing, which may or may not be true. It's probably true, because otherwise they're going to get out of sync if they're not in the same timing, but that option also feels not great. So we have 3 options and they all seem mediocre. Option 1, require that they load together or reveal together. Option 2, make it so that they aren't disabled or are not parented under the turned off tile object, but instead are managing their visibility separately and are always loaded and animating. And then option 3 is have them linked together, but when they're revealed, check if their paired animation is already revealed and then sync the animation timing of it. And okay, so option 1 and 3 require me having to write more data and more like information into each tile, because I would in both option 1 and 3 the tiles would need to know about other tiles and have some way of like storing information of like, oh, this tile needs to have a reference to an entity ID to its paired entity. Like it gets really complicated with data storage. I guess that by default means option 2 is probably the quote-unquote simplest, because the objects wouldn't need to know anything about each other. They would just need to always be animating from the moment they load. And if there is a fundamental issue with the moment they load being slightly offset from each other in some way, then we could have something where load all props but have them animate disabled on the moment they're loaded, and then once everything's loaded we could go through all of them and, you know, enable them all at the same time. Like that's solvable. Okay, so I think it's option 2. I think we need to, at the very least for animating props, pull them out so that they are not parented under their tile, but instead parented under the floor holder like enemies and NPCs, and have it so that those props can have custom visibility logic associated with them. How does the visibility script work? Could I just repurpose that, or does this need like a unit or something? It does need a unit because it needs to grab the animation in order to get the sprite renderer. This could be reworked to not require that, but yeah, I'd probably need a different visibility script for props. And then what does this have for scripts on it to begin with? Tile offset and animation. Is this the same one we use for units? It is. Okay, so the animation component that we use for props is identical to the one that we use for units. So then maybe the visibility should be reworked to be usable between either. I want to dig into how it handles the visibility for the unit. It's tile.getUnit, so it tries to get the content that's currently assigned to it. How are props assigned to tiles? Is that accessible in some way? Like when we load a prop, which we do here, spawn prop internal, prop data. Does it save the object in any way? It sets up some entity IDs. It doesn't look like it actually. Once it spawns that prop, it just throws it away. It's just like, yeah, it's spawned. I don't care anymore. We give it entity IDs if you want to go find it, but the tile doesn't care. It's just like, yeah, I spawned that prop. I'm done. I'm moving on. So the tile would need to keep track of each of the props it loads, which honestly doesn't sound like a terrible idea in general. Where's it setting the parent? Because like when we spawn a prop, we are setting it. We are parenting it. Here, when we do the addressable instantiation async, we give it the transform that we want to parent it to. Here, floor model transform.parent. So when we load an enemy, what are we parenting it to? Spawn. Load props. Load interactables. Oh, right, the tile doesn't load the enemies. That's handled by, like, the unit management system. So then we can find that, though, if we go to enemy spawner. Somewhere in here. Spawn enemy via spawner. This loads the enemy prefab, generates some flag stuff, initializes the state machine, places it on the board. I'm going to guess that this place call is where I'm doing the parenting. Still no? This is just changing the enabled. Somewhere we are deciding where to anchor this object. Like, where does it get parented? To the tile. It has to be somewhere inside of here. I am not seeing it though. Isn't this match call? This match call is what's doing it. Yeah, and now it's doing tile.floorObjectParent.transform. So if inside of load prop we did this instead, that would parent it to the same location as the enemies. And because we're not controlling the visibility manually, we will just see all the props all at the same time. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. And then as we walk forward, the props disappear for a moment, but it's just that they're sliding down with the tile properly still. So this would work. Oh, actually, can we test this? This will let us see, is the animation in sync? Yeah, that looks perfectly in sync now between the two waterfall pieces. So this will work. We just need to now disable the renderers. So every single object would be enabled. All of its scripts can be run, but we just need to come into here and do boop on every single one. And then when the tile goes to get revealed, we'll have to go through every prop and just go boop and turn it on. Now for a prop that doesn't have animation, like this one, does it have any kind of reference to the actual sprite renderer? No. It does not have any components that directly references the sprite renderer. So we could write one so that every prefab that we create has a reference, or even just tile offset could have a reference to the sprite renderer. The other option is we could just get component in children of these objects, but I would much rather have it so that there's a direct reference on a component that we can easily get from the top of the cloned object, essentially. That would be much better. Okay. I like this path. It's going to require a bit of setup and a bit of reworking of our prop prefabs, which luckily we can just go forest, create props, and it'll regenerate all of them for us. But we'll just need to do a little bit of work so that there is a new type of script here that has a reference to the sprite renderer, and then each tile will need to keep track of all the props it creates, and that at the moment that it goes to, and then once it creates all those props, it'll start with all of them not visible, aka turning off all of their sprite renderers, and at the moment that the tile gets revealed, it'll go through all of its props and turn on the sprite renderers at the same moment that it moves itself off screen so it can slide up into place. Yeah. Yep. That'll work. We are at time though, so that's an explanation of what I'll do. I'll continue working on that off camera. We are done for today though. We'll be back next Sunday as usual. Hopefully next Sunday we will have a build that we can kind of play through for chapter 1. I'd also like to start sending out playtest builds so people can play through the whole thing and give feedback. I don't know if that'll be next week. That might be a couple weeks out because I want to maybe do some run-throughs of the build that we're working towards to make sure it's... I want to bug test it and make sure that it's not broken in any way before sending it out to folks. But it seems fairly stable. But again, I want to make sure that it's really solid before getting first impressions from folks. But the Discord will be the easiest place to kind of check for that if you want to know about when you can potentially get a key to be able to play it. I think we're really close though. It's just this, and like this animation issue isn't like huge. I think it's solvable though before we make this build. And then I want to do a little bit more refinement on adding sound effects for like the river and stuff throughout all the maps. And I want to do a little bit of work refining some of the audio. But other than that, I think it's, and a couple of bugs, I think that we're ready to call chapter 1 complete, and then we start getting feedback, iterating on it a little bit, as well as moving on with building a bit of chapter 2, which will be, that'll be a journey. Now, do we want to do a raid again this week? We've been raiding Moonwood Games the last few weeks. Probably could do that again. Don't want to be a bother though. I don't know if it's a bother, but yeah, you know what? Let's just raid in. I think it's better to raid than to not raid. So this will be it for me. This will be Tolhi signing out. We'll be back next Sunday. For now, this will be Tolhi signing. I'm repeating myself. All right, night.